So we're here in Bilton Triangle on a fine Sunday morning in October, and I'm going to show you why you need to buy shares in Knaresborough Forest Park before the 5th of November and do your bit to protect the Greenbelt. Now, not many people know that Longlands Common, Knaresborough Forest Park, Bilton Triangle, Nid Gorge were once all part of a much larger park called Bilton Park. Bilton Park was the Royal Deer Park for Knaresborough Castle and the Kings and Queens between 1100 and 1600. And all this area was part of it. Including this bit. And up until a couple of years ago, when you walked over here, this part of Bilton Park was farm fields. And now, virtually every inch of available green space between the railway line and Boggs Lane, Kingsley Drive has been taken over for housing, apart from the school playing field. And this is happening all over as property developers buy up available green space and either build on it or bank it. There's a lot of land banking going on in the Greenbelt, and that's why it's really important for people to buy community shares and take as much of the Greenbelt as we can into community ownership to protect it. Not just for ourselves, but for the wildlife that's losing habitats, and for the future generations that won't have any green space on their doorstep if we're not careful. So we're here now at the corner of Boggs Lane and Kingsley Road, and at the entranceway to Kingsley Manor. And I don't think there ever was a Kingsley Manor, but there was definitely a Bilton Park, and this was the historic gateway to it. And yeah, Boggs Lane is one of the oldest roads in the area. It's on all the old maps. But I don't think the house builders were probably aware of the history of this place. They might have gone for a different name had they known, but anyway. So we're going to have a walk inside what used to be Bilton Park, which has undergone quite a substantial change in the last couple of years. And this was the start of the boundary fence. Why meadows? Nature is under pressure. Many species, including mammals, birds and insects, are in decline. Areas of long grass and meadows on new developments are important habitats for all kinds of wildlife. Say no more. How much habitat has been buried underneath concrete and tarmac? So we're now inside the entrance to Bilton Park, and we're following this new track that follows the line of what used to be the paling fence around Bilton Deer Park. And when the king came to Knaresborough Castle from sort of 1100 to 1600, they would come here to chase deer on horseback. So this stone here gives some indication of the history of the boundary. It's obviously something that has been kept where it always was, because it's got this tree growing around it. So you get some indication here of the Bilton Deer Park boundary fence, with a ditch on the inside and an embankment on the other side. And that embankment would have had a paling fence on top of it. And by doing this, the deer could get in, but they couldn't get out again. So when it was a royal deer park and this was the boundary fence, and one or two foresters would be paid an annual fee, an annual wage to maintain the paling fence and keep it in a good state of repair. But there were strict laws forbidding people to come into the park and take feed for their cattle or to graze their cattle inside, and anybody found doing so was said to have gone beyond the pale, which is where the expression comes from. So this was exclusively for the recreation of the king and the king's friends when they came to Knaresborough Castle. When Bilton Park was within the much larger Royal Forest of Knaresborough. Fortunately, the property developers have been able to retain most of the fence, unlike the actual park itself. But at least we can see perhaps what it used to be like, or imagine what it used to be like. Not anymore. So following the line of the boundary fence, we come to a spot that's been bisected by a new road, where they've culverted the ditch, probably not realising the historic boundary that they were bridging. But this point here gives you some idea of just the extent of the development going on here. That all the way from the railway line to Kingsley Road, every available space is taken up with housing. So we're following the Bilton Park boundary up towards the school driveway, and towards the top end of Kingsley Road it did look like the fields were going to be saved from development, but judging by this pile of earth here and what's going on, it looks like these fields are definitely next for housing. And as you can see, the bulldozers are moving in. So that's going to be all the available land between Kingsley Road and Granby Corner, apart from this school playing field here for now, but the rest of it has been taken up by housing. So we're here now towards the top end of Kingsley Drive, and this is where the Bilton Park boundary crosses the driveway to Harrogate High School. And when I were a lad, this was Granby High School, and when I came to school here, we'd go up and down this driveway at break times and dinner times, and these were farm fields here, and they had horses in them, and as you can see now, it's all been taken for housing. And so the Bilton Park boundary goes from here up towards behind the Granby Hotel, and all that green space is now being taken for housing. And these fields here, top of Kingsley Road, they're obviously next, and if we're not careful, this is the destiny for the whole of the Greenbelt between Harrogate and Knaresborough. And that's why it's important that we take as much as we can of it into community ownership to protect it, because property developers are land banking as much of the Greenbelt as they can purchase. So as a community, it's our job to try and secure this land as Greenbelt and for nature protection and for future generations. So that's why we're asking people to buy shares in Knaresborough Forest Park before the 5th of November and protect the Greenbelt for hundreds of years to come, hopefully. It's difficult when I'm not actually looking at it.
Yeah, we'll just turn and point and then come back to the camera.
Yeah.
Okay, and go.
So we're stood now in Bilton Triangle, what we also call the cornfield, which we always thought was one of the prizes for the road builders, that their inner relief road would open up this field for housing development. You could probably get about 3,000 houses on here. And the Greenbelt starts from the Nidderdale Greenway over there, and it runs from here to Knaresborough over about 1.5 miles of land. And if our community share offer is successful, we'll be creating a community-owned wildlife corridor between the Nidderdale Greenway and Macintosh Park in Knaresborough. So that's why it's really important that the community takes this opportunity, because it won't come again to buy this land. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and we need as many of the community as possible to buy shares before the 5th of November to protect this land, for not just for ourselves. You know, this is a legacy project. This is for something that we can give as a gift to future generations, because it's our duty. To pass on the world hopefully in a better state than we found it. So, yeah. So that's it. That's this part of Bilton Park gone forever, as we knew it. We need to stop this happening elsewhere, wherever we possibly can.